Welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Sit back and listen to interviews, discussion about books, and anything else literary. There's always something or someone new on the show. Good evening, listeners, and welcome to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast. Behind the books, honest voices, real stories. I'm Amy Shannon, and I'm pulling back the curtain, bringing you the heartfelt and real conversations with the storytellers and creatives that go behind the books. You never know where the conversation will lead us, so let's find out. Tonight we have an author joining us. Thank you for joining us. Will you please introduce yourself and let people know how they can contact you?
Well, my name is Jason Norman. I'm a college English teacher. I've ghostwritten. I think this is the fourth autobiography I have ghostwritten. It's my first foray into true crime, but it's my 14th book overall. I've written about sports, movies, fiction, and my own dealings as a member of the autism spectrum. But I can be reached at normanwrites.wordpress.com. That's normanwrites.wordpress.com.
And I'll put that link in the description of this episode.
Please.
So, so you were saying about true crime. So this is your first time doing ghostwriting a true crime novel?
Well, it's not a novel. It's an autobiography, but yes.
Yes. Excuse me. I didn't mean to say novel. But so, what kind of brought you into, well, first I'm going to ask you about your ghostwriting. So when did you start doing that, and how does that actually work? You tell someone else's story. So I'm actually very curious about the ghostwriting process.
Well, you just formulate you have a lot of conversations with the person. You get the idea of who they are and how they talk and how they think, and then you try to incorporate their thought process and the way they express themselves into your writing, and you really make sure that you speak in their voice. Like sometimes they might say things or do things that you disagree with, that you think are wrong, and you can't let that factor in. You got to know that, look, I'm me, but I'm speaking as you. So it's not entirely unlike, playing a character as an actor in the writing sense. So that's what it's like. But, you listen to how they talk, you listen to how they think about themselves, how they remember IDs, how they do this, and how they remember certain events in their lives, and you really try to put yourself in their lives and their mind and their hearts and everything, and you try to express them through you, so to speak.
That's it sounds like it is it's like it seems more like a huge job to do than if you were just writing for yourself. So
it's different.
Yeah. That's actually really interesting. So you said you've written for yourself as well?
Yes, I wrote a book from my daughter was born in May of 2017, and not too long, I don't recall exactly when, but not too long after that, I was officially diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome, which is a very low-level form of autism.
Right.
So I chronicled my dealings with that and how it affected my life over the first year of her life.
Yeah, I'm sure that being, I'm guessing that being diagnosed as an adult is, maybe it makes sense to you when you look back at your life. I don't, rather than if you were diagnosed when you were younger. I mean, that must have some kind of effect on you. You finally know,
a diagnosis or something like that, it's got to be could be hard to swallow. So
Definitely. Yeah, it's pretty tough, but it was tough, but it was also kind of refreshing. It made me more, confident in myself, and it made me think, am I very socially awkward? Do I have a lot of these qualities? Yes. But now that I know that there is, okay, we all have, something off about us up to,
right.
but knowing that it doesn't, I'm a little better prepared for it. And I know like what to do with it and the effect that if it does, how it affects me and things like that.
Well, that's really good that you know that, because I know. I mean, I have my father had brain damage from being a child, but he was in an accident in 1963. So
Yeah.
they didn't, it wasn't until he was 30 that he got diagnosed that he had a traumatic brain injury, and that he was always angry and frustrated because he couldn't remember stuff. And then once he knew what was wrong with him, he knew how to get help. It didn't quite happen overnight of realizing, okay, this is what's going on. But it kind of, when you have answers, when you've been just trying to figure out what the heck is wrong with me, I think that helps people in the long run. At least, they like, at least I'm not going nuts or something. But so not a good segue into this. So you wrote the book for John Hinckley Jr.
Mm-hmm.
and it's his memoirs.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about how that came about. I mean, how did you? How did you get involved with Mr. Hinckley to begin with, and how did that whole thing start off?
Well, I hadn't really thought about it much when he first was released. He had been institutionalized for a very long time,
Right.
and I didn't think about it when he was first released. I'm not even sure when that was offhand, but I think once I found out that he had a free and clear release, that's when that's when I thought maybe he would have enough freedom to participate in something like this. So I contacted him. I spent some time trying to contact him. I think it was on Twitter or X or whatever that thing is now. On there. And he didn't respond at first. And then eventually he did respond. And we had some conversations. And then he said, basically, call me when you have a publisher. And I thought I had a publisher at first, a publisher that I had written a couple of other books for. They had actually told me they would be interested. And then when I actually said, hey, he says he'll do it if we'll publish it, they said, nope, sorry, we're not going to publish it. And so I went around and I found Wild Blue Press, and they said, sure. Well, I don't think they agreed like right off the bat, but it didn't take them too long to agree. And then we just rolled forward with it.
Wow, that's pretty. That's really interesting. I didn't know that he had been released. So, and I do know that he suffers from mental health issues, and I remember, it's on TV when I was growing up in the 80s of what happened. So, but that kind of stuff kind of stands out. So not to invade his privacy, but so he was released free and clear, so he could just, I don't know, get a job and do, just live a normal life now. Is that how that is working?
Yeah. I mean, he doesn't, I don't believe he has to I don't believe he has to go see or I don't think there's any restrictions on on his um his freedom. I don't believe he has to, check in with people. He yeah he he's pretty much free and clear at this point.
Wow, that's got to be an interesting transition from being institutionalized, and then finally, getting out. I, I mean, obviously he had severe mental health issues, and hopefully that though he's out free and clear, that he's also, I don't know, continuing with therapy or whatever has helped him to the point where he could get released.
Right. Well, right. Yeah. He was. They took a tremendous amount of time working him back into society. There was several years where he was allowed to leave for a day, a weekend, a week, and it just got longer and longer and longer. And even when they said to him, even when they said that he was released, he still had to check in with them. He still had to follow a couple of rules here and there, and eventually he earned the privileges to stay away from them, so to speak. Now he was never any kind of disciplinary issue. I mean, he never got into any real disciplinary trouble when he was in St. Elizabeth's, and nor did he get into any trouble when they first started working him back in. I mean, he never had any problem following all the rules, doing everything he was supposed to do, not doing the wrong stuff. So, I mean, it was a pretty smooth process. It just took
A very long time.
And
Yeah.
I'm sure he probably had some extra rules to follow, and they put some extra precautions on him because of what he had done. I mean, if he had shot someone other than the president, I'm sure he probably would have been released and free much sooner than he was. But they had to work him in maybe a little slower than they would if he were just Joe Smith.
Right. Yeah. And how that all came about, and of course, the reasons behind him shooting President Reagan.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of, obsessive behaviors. I mean, it's not uncommon for a person to become obsessed with somebody that, a celebrity. Many celebrities have stalkers. Regular people have stalkers. And even with knowing that, he had mental health issues, I wonder, how did he even think that this would grab that actress's, I'm going to keep her name off this episode, but that person's attention, and how would shooting President Reagan make that celebrity say, "Oh yes, I want you"? I don't know.
Yeah, that's just how your mind works when it's been addled enough by mental illness that you've created a reality of your own far enough from regular reality that certain things make sense to you that really don't make a lot of sense to others. What he was doing was rational to him at that point, and it seems ridiculously irrational to everyone else, but to him it made sense.
Yeah. And sometimes, that's what happens. I mean, there are so many different types of mental illness, and sometimes you have more than one issue going on. But, even, I think, this kind of also brings up the mental health system. I think nowadays, people are it's okay to have mental health issues, but I remember it was like, for a long time, it was a stigma if you had some mental health issues, or if you told somebody, how you were feeling, or, and it wasn't of the norm, then, he was like, oh, well, you deserve to be put away or whatever. And, some people act on what they believe. And of course, his actions, not only had repercussions for him, but the president and his, agents, and, I think people as a whole, because they kept playing that over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And different angle, and it was like, wow. And I could still remember, and it's weird, when Reagan, waved outside his hospital window to let people know he was okay. But still, other people on his team suffered worse than he did.
Right.
So when, and I have the book, I have to, I just started reading it. So, when you were, so did you actually sit down with John, or did you talk to him on the phone, or?
We sat down a few times, but the majority of it was over the phone.
And so you could get like you were talking about before, like how they would speak or their tone, or, so, was that a kind of a long process too? Telling, his story through his voice.
I mean, it took about 5 or 6 months, but that's normal for an autobiography. I mean, I won't say it was necessarily any harder or easier than the ones I've written before.
And he addresses his mental illness.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's quite candid about it.
I think that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a good thing. So this is, because, it's like, I'm just trying to, kind of wrap my head around, so when he talks to you,
Mm-hmm.
it just kind of, is it like you just have like a regular conversation, you know, it, and he just basically, tells you his stories, and then you write it down and put it in his voice. I mean, once you're doing your research, so you're getting your information from, in this case, Mr. Hinckley, and, with that, do you have to do, let's say, research on him yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I did a great deal of research on him, and I also did a lot of research looking up like news articles for what was going on at that point. And his parents wrote a book a few years after the shooting, and that was a big help. But yes, the majority of it obviously came from him.
Wow. So, when he was, when he was put into the mental institution,
Mm-hmm.
did they have a straight, like, diagnosis for him, or were they, like, did they have to work to, like counseling or medication? I don't know, how to get him to, come out of whatever, his world was. That must have taken quite a while to
Oh,
be able to do that.
yeah. It definitely took quite a while. I mean, he was examined by a lot of people, and obviously some reached the conclusion that he was insane, and others said that he wasn't. And I guess the jury believed the ones who said that that his mind was so damaged that he couldn't be legally held accountable for it.
Yeah, and I could see that, I think, in my opinion, the jury made the right call with that. It just, he was in his own world. He's, had obsessive behavior. I'm sure delusions and maybe, I don't know what else, that he had suffered, but, and the fact that, I don't know, it's just like he could just walk right up to them and start shooting. That's still just, it's like, who wasn't paying attention?
Right. Right.
And
It was obviously it would not be so easy to do something like that today. I mean, obviously when there was the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, or the tragically successful assassination of Charlie Kirk, those were from shots from far off. I mean, those guys didn't get right up close to him and start shooting like Hinckley did. So obviously there's quite a few more precautions going on today, just because obviously I do in part to this.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it takes something like this to happen for people to look at like the lack of security. I mean, our flying is totally different since 9/11, and after Kennedy was assassinated, they no longer allow them to have the presidents to have a convertible.
Right.
So they always looked at that kind of way to improve upon security, and unfortunately, some people have to suffer and situations have to happen in order for it to, them to make changes. But, and some things they still, just, the president is more secure. But, I wonder before, he walked up to those men and started shooting.
Right.
Was he in, did he have friends? I mean, you said he had parents, but did somebody think that something was wrong with him before he did something like that?
Well, he was never a very outgoing type. The overwhelming majority, I mean, obviously, after it happened, the media just really dug through his past with everything but a magnifying glass from hell.
Yeah.
And pretty much everyone who met him basically said, he was nice, but I didn't know him that well. I mean, it seemed like pretty much everyone liked him, but no one really knew him that well. And he didn't share his thoughts with anyone. He didn't really discuss it with people. I mean, I'm sure some people probably realized that he was watching that movie Taxi Driver excessively, but they probably just thought he liked the movie, or maybe he was a big Robert De Niro fan or whoever else. But I mean, he was a nice enough fellow, but certainly not a very extroverted one.
Yeah, so he was probably socially awkward and just knew the simple nuances to, you just be nice to people and that's about it. Say hi or something like that.
Right.
My father was socially awkward. So, when I put him in assisted living, he's like, how do I talk to people? I'm like, well, if they walk down the hall and they smile at you, smile back. I said, if they say hi to you, I said, you just say hello back to them. I said, if they stop and talk, you talk to them, but if not, you just keep moving. Now he's end stage dementia, but he was always socially awkward, and he'd tell terrible jokes that only I got. But I knew that when something was going wrong, that something was, that he was fading in a different way. So I wonder what the relationship that he had with his parents was like beforehand.
Yeah, it wasn't particularly close. He like when it came to college, he kept starting and stopping, and he would tell them things about how his music career was about to take off, and how he was always this close to being a big movie star. He was this close to getting engaged or married or things like that. And a lot of that, it turned out, was, shall we say, dramatized at best, and that didn't really come out until after he'd been arrested. But his parents definitely came through for him a lot in helping him with his trial, and then helping him get the best of treatment when he was being treated.
That's really good, and I'm glad, because parents could just as easily turn their back and say, I don't know. Sometimes support, no matter what the person does, especially if they have a mental illness, it's not easy to be someone, a caregiver or somebody, when you're trying to get through to someone, and communicate with them, especially like your own child. Does he have siblings or anything, or was he an only child?
So he had two brothers. No, I think he had a brother and a sister. I think he was the youngest. Yeah, his brother was actually going to meet with George Bush's family. I think George Bush's son, right around the time that he shot Reagan. Yeah, his family was pretty big in Texas politics. Not like actually participating. I mean, they weren't politicians, but they knew people.
Yeah, that's right, because Bush was the vice president.
Right.
Wow. It seems like yesterday, and it seems so far away at the same time. But yeah, I can't wait to finish. Like I said, I started it, and I can't wait to finish reading it. I'm actually, when I saw it, because I get the emails from Wild Blue Press, and then you can, I select which ones I want to read, because I always have a pile of books that I have to read.
Sure.
I just, it just kind of like, I was like, oh, well, it just really, like, I don't know, it just like, I'm like, yeah, I have to read that. I need to, it's like, I remember that moment, but I'm curious about, the before and the after, not the actual moment. I've seen it enough on TV to know what happened. I was only just a kid in middle school, but still, I remember that. So I, maybe on another episode you can come back, and maybe John will be willing to talk to me. If not, that's fine. But otherwise, I would really, I would be honored to speak with him. And of course, have you at the same time. I would really appreciate that. But I want to thank you for being on the show and sharing not just John's story, but your life and how you're a teacher, which is amazing. To me, that is one of the most commendable occupations someone can have.
Yeah, I've been doing that for almost 20 years on the college level.
Wow.
Published my first book until I think 2014 or 2015, but it's been a pretty steady stream there ever since.
That is just I'm just honored to have you on there. I mean, can't wait to finish reading the book, but, like I said, having a teacher, whenever I interview them, it's like I'm in awe, especially because teachers, we need more, and, since, also English, because English was my best subject. But I want to thank you for being on the show, and thank you, audience, for listening. If you wish to be a guest on the show, go to amysbookshelfreviews.com/podcast and schedule your pre-recording. Please follow this podcast on Spotify. I'm Amy Shannon. Be safe, be well, and always be kind.
Tune in here again next week for another tantalizing discussion. Thank you for listening to Amy's Bookshelf Reviews podcast.